Hey everyone, welcome back to the Game Closet. This is episode 5 of my series. I know I don't do them a lot, but I have finally gotten everything ready to actually do this episode. So today is more of a dedication, more so than a review. So just keep that in mind when you're watching this video. If you know what I'm talking about and you love them as much as I do, then we're awesome. I know we're geeks or whatever, Well, some people say this is the worst series of games ever, there's no point, but enough of that. So, these games, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these games came out in the 90s. I was born in 1990, so I was a baby when they came out. I never knew they existed until 5 or 6 years ago. So, I just got into them recently. But the first game came out in the 90s, and there's a couple of expansions, and then, a lot of renaming happened, and a lot of revamping of the base game and trying to make it better happened, and, a few more games came off of that. And then the most recent ones have been DVD games. So if that tells you anything, and you have no idea, stick around, because this is going to be a jam-packed show. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to be talking about the video board games of Nightmare, or Atmosfear, depending on where you live and what country you live in. But the basic premise of the game is the same. The base game, and every game is hosted by a different host or hostess, and you only have 60 minutes to play. And you have a nice, very nice game board, and you have cards, you have keys, you have, what else do you have? Nightmare tile things that you lay on the board, lay in the middle of the board. Basically, what happens is you read the rules, and basically the gist of the game is to beat the game within an hour. You only have 60 minutes to play, as I said. But each host in each game is gonna not make that so easy. The host will come up at various points in the tape and tell you what to do, and you must listen to them. You cannot pause or stop the tape or rewind it. So you're in for the long haul. Now, the first host, when this first came out, was the Gatekeeper, and there's not much really to tell about him, except that he was modeled, it seems to, he was modeled after the Emperor or the Chancellor, I don't really know, of the Star Wars saga. I don't know my characters that well, but he had some of the characteristics. He had a robe, he had, he was just grouchy looking, and what was so cool, and what I think was kind of lacking in the later not the later expansion in this particular series, but when they did spin-offs, like the Hobbingers or anything like that, I'll get into that in a different video. But the later spin-offs, the biggest thing for me was the actual shock factor, and the scare factor was kind of not there at all, because within the 60 minutes of gameplay, you see, a normal person or woman slowly transform into, let's see, you have a zombie, you have a witch, and you have a vampire. So you can kind of guess what kind of things can go on. And I love to see that kind of transformation. That's what is so lacking in the later DVD versions and maybe even the Hobbiters. I have to play that again to actually make a decision. But the basic premise is you're supposed to get your 6 keys, make it to the center of the board, and in the center of the board, I forgot to mention this, you have, there's the Nightmare, I'm going to call them tile card type things. Every player puts their greatest fear, writes it down, and somebody shovels them and puts them in the middle of the board. And then you're trying to get your 6 keys, make it to the center of the board by exact count, roll a 6, and pick the top card. And if it is your worst fear, then you have to start over. I don't remember exactly what happens, but if you don't pick your fear, then you stop the clock and you stop the tape, and then you win the game. But by any chance, if you totally screw up and you and you lose by going, you hit the 60-minute mark and nobody has won, then the host has won. So that is basically what the game is. And I think it's a great series of games. So in the next couple segments, I'm going to talk about Nightmare 2 and what it brings, or what I think it brings, because I haven't played any of the expansions. I've only played the base game a couple times. But I'm going to be talking a little in depth about Nightmare 2, what it brings, Nightmare 3, and the same thing. So in Nightmare 4. So I'm going to talk about each expansion, and I'm going to tell you kind of what it brings and what kind of changes. Alright, so on to Nightmare 2. So after the success of Nightmare, the company came out with Nightmare 2, Baram Samedi, the Zombie. What you get in the game, or in this particular expansion, is another 60 minutes, another 60-minute videotape, and a new set of fate cards and a new set of time cards. And to actually play Zombie, all you have to do is replace those cards, with those ones that you got in the original set. You still use the same card, you still use the same chance cards, but you replace those 2 sets. The Baron, I don't think I've played, but he seems a lot quicker, he seems a lot harsher, and he likes to throw people into the black hole. And I think this is the perfect spot to talk about the black hole. The black hole is somewhere that you don't want to be, because somehow if you end up being in the black hole, you cannot play until you're released, or you have the power to release yourself by cards or by a key or whatever. So if you don't get released, you don't get to play. So as far as I know, he is a party animal. He loves to dance, apparently, because I've seen different videos and stuff. He loves to party. He's a shaker, and he loves to throw people in a black hole. That's his thing. So that's all really that you get in Nightmare 2 Zombie. So on to Nightmare 3 and Chantraine, the witch. So Nightmare 3, you again get another 60-minute videotape, and then you get another pack of fate and another pack of time cards that you replace and use during the gameplay. A few minor adjustments and a tweak here and there. One of them is that you use 2 dice. You use a pair of dice instead of just 1. And in the rules it says you must roll 2 dice unless instructed, or certain circumstances come up. And also within the fate card, especially within the fate cards, especially, there are spells or parts of spells. There's a couple. There's several cards are spells, and there's two parts to every spell. And you're trying. Well, it's not the main goal to try to collect spells, but once you get two parts of a spell, you can turn them in for a key or something like that. And also in the fate cards, there's two cards in there that are kind of powerful. It seems like the Witch's Trade and the Witch's Lie. From what I've read on these cards, Witch's Trade is used to trade cards with other players and give them a part of a spell they need to let them give you a part that you need. And the Witch's Lie is just in there to screw somebody up. They can just say, hey, I have a part of the spell, and give them that card instead. So that's really what Andish Untrained is all about. It's about casting spells. It's about... it's very wizard-like, and I like that the new things that Andish Untrained brings to Nightmare. So, on to Nightmare 4, the Blood Countess Elizabeth Bathory. So, we're here at Nightmare 4, Countess Elizabeth Bathory, Vampire. In the box, you get another 60 minutes of gameplay, another videotape. You get another pack of time and fate cards. But also you get a couple more things. You get a pack of black rose cards, which cannot be worn off the board. You can only get those by the Countess herself. And you get an interactive book of rules. It sounds so dark and ominous, but it's really cool. It seems really cool because at certain points in the game, she will refer to turn to page whatever and roll the dice or flip the coin and see what happens. And that seems like such a fun element to the game. And Nightmare 4 is not just a race against time like in the other ones. It's just been a race against time, no big deal. But in this one, instead of that, you also have, but adding to that little burden, as it will, you also have the growing threat of being turned into a vampire, either being preyed on by one of your your previous opponents, because once you turn into a vampire, your sole main goal is to turn everybody else into a vampire, or be cursed by the Countess herself. So, on top of everything, with the time and everything, you try to stay alive and still win the game like normal. But you can kill vampires if you have the right cards, and things. So that's Nightmare 4. So I've heard that it's a really hard game, but a lot of people have not won it, and they've played it, off and on for several years, and they still haven't beaten it. So Nightmare 4 is a little bit harder to win, but I think it adds so much more fun from what I've seen and stuff. So that is Nightmare 4, Countess Elizabeth Bathory, the Vampire. So to round out my Nightmare video here, I want to shoot a quick thank you and a quick shout out to all of the fans, including myself, on Facebook at the Atmosfear fan club on there, and the campaign to bring Nightmare, the original 4 Nightmare games back to DVD, having them released on DVD. So I want to especially thank you guys for watching, and I also want to thank Gamer Dan at Board Game Geek for helping me complete my set. And a few other notes. If you're looking into getting Nightmare 4, just be prepared to pay a lot for it. I mean, thankfully, I didn't really have to pay that much. Thank you, Gamer Dan, again for that. I was really excited, so that's why I went with you, because you didn't really, you gave me a reasonable price. So thank you for that. But Nightmare 4 is the most expensive of the 4 original games. It's about $60 depending on what the description says on eBay or Amazon or Board Game Geek. So be aware of that. And one other thing about Nightmare 4 is that it's supposed to come with a black rose sticker. Most sets don't, which is okay. You don't need that to play, but it's just you stick it on the board and you put your black rose on it. You put your cards on it, and it's just there. It sticks on the board, but most of them don't come with it. Be prepared to pay a lot more if it's 100% complete. So just be aware of that. So again, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I have been making it. All the pictures you see are from my personal collection. They're not stolen off the internet or anything. So they're all my they're all my property and all that good stuff. So hope to see you in your worst nightmare. I hope you enjoyed it. Later.